and welcome to 2 Minutes to Target and continuation of the ELR gear series. And in this go, we're going to be looking at spotting scopes and what are considerations for getting an optic suitable for extreme long-range shooting. Now, I've been using the same spotting scope for years. It was my first longer range scope. It's of decent quality. I don't want to go into what brand because I don't like knocking brands. It worked pretty well out to 800, 1,000 yards. But as I've been stretching the legs on my 300 PRC, getting out to longer ranges, it's been harder and harder to spot the hits, spot the misses, and I realized that it was time to move up to a better quality scope. So what am I looking for in a spotting scope? Well, you're spotting with it, you need to see things. So the number one thing I'm looking for is good optical clarity. And we're going to show you an example in this about how important that is. You also are looking for brightness. The brighter a scope is, the less your eyes have to work to focus in. And then the form and function is obviously important. And then the last thing, not the least by far, is that I really want to have a good reticle. And I think that having a good reticle is important, very important, to spotting the misses, calling the misses in ELR. The first scope I considered was a Swarovski STR80. And Swaros are considered the top of the line, so you really can't go wrong with one. And this one does have a reticle in it. The issue I have is that reticle is really cluttered in the center. I like to have a wide open center, and this one's really more for ranging. Looks like a rifle reticle, so that center's cluttered up. And also Swaros, very, very expensive. The next one I considered was the hensolt Spotter 60. And there's a lot to like about this scope. It is really cool. Compact design tactical scope. It's got a really cool reticle, open in the center. That L shape allows you to really keep the target in focus, really spot the hits, spot the misses. A lot to like about this. The one thing I don't like about it is I'd have to hawk my Jeep to be able to afford it. This thing is really expensive. But again, a very cool scope. So moving down in price, the next one I looked at was the Vortex Razor HD. I've got a couple friends who have these. I've looked through them a fair amount. I've done a lot of spotting in them. Solid pieces of equipment. But the big thing that they don't have as a standard is a reticle. You have to buy a separate eyepiece, which isn't bad, except that their eyepiece only is 22x in magnification. That's a little bit short when you're looking at ELR. It works great for tactical, but a little bit short for some of the ELR distances. And then I'm just not a fan of the reticle design. I love the openness of that hensolt reticle. This one is a little bit better than the Swaro, but still really not what I'm looking for. So where do I go? So I considered a number of other scopes, very similar issues to the three that I've shown you here. But then I heard about this company called Tract who had just recently gone to market with some of their rifle scopes. A really interesting story. A couple guys from Nikon who decided to put together a better optic company at a lower price, and they get that lower price by eliminating distributors and retailers and selling directly to the market. Very bold move because that's tough to do, but it does allow the price to come down. So again, love the story. So I figured, you know what? Let me take a look at what they've got. And they had just come out with their Tract Toric 27 to 55 by 80 spotting scope. And guess what? It has a reticle, and it has a pretty darn cool reticle. Open in the center. It's 30x, so it is an eyepiece replacement. It's like the Vortex in that regard, but a superior design. Liked a lot about it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give these guys a try. All right, so when the scope came in, the one thing that struck me right off is the packaging. The box is pretty amazing, and you open it up. That's not the top of the box. That's actually the inside. A nice message waiting for you, and my dog likes it too. Yes, that's right. And nice message from the folks there at Tract, talking about their warranty, website, signatures of the two founders, etc. Very cool. And then you open it up, and first thing that struck me opening that part up is that the foam. Like, this thing is packed like it's going up to space or something. It's just really freaking cool. Covered in very heavy plastic for protection. I appreciate that when I'm getting an expensive optic like this. So again, really nice attention to detail. And then you've got, what is this thing? I want to open this up and look at it. Well, it's a nice Tract logo cleaning cloth, so I like that aspect of it as well. When the first thing I notice when I take this out is it's beefy, it's hefty, like that in a scope. All right, so what's the first thing you do when you get a new toy? Well, you go up back and try it out. And this is looking across the canyon behind our house at the cactus. That's about 500 yards. Now, granted, that's not ELR distance, but you can see how clear this image is. All right, but to really look at this thing, we got to get out in the field. And I'm going to point out a couple features. One is the eyepiece and the magnification controls on this. I'm pretty stout. I like that. I like the full body focus, and we'll talk more about that later. Also going to talk a little more later about the neoprene sleeve. Costs extra. You have to buy that separately, but I like that. It covers for both the eyepiece and the objective. And then let's look at where we're going to be shooting and what we're going to be looking at. And we're going to be shooting way out there. And when we range this, set up the targets, that comes out at about 2,106 yards. Now, we're going to be setting this up. I'm using a Tacticam, and I'm going to be getting, zooming in on it. So the optical quality is hampered a little bit by that. This is not really what it looks like when you're looking through it, but it's going to give you an idea from a comparison standpoint. Right, that was my first shot, and it's a miss, and you can very easily see that miss. So, taking the second shot, I'm going to correct. And that's a hit. Now, what's interesting about this is we want to take a look at it in slow motion. And look where this arrow, I'm going to put an arrow on there where the hit's occurring. And you can see this, you saw it in the other one. There's the hit, and then there's a splash down in the lower left. And let's slow this down even more and look at it again. Once again, watch for the hit. There it is. And look at this splash going backwards from that. So it was a ricochet going back. Now, what can happen with this, and the important thing about it is, with a lesser scope, you may miss that hit on the target. You probably see the splash, and you're going to misclassify that as a miss. And then you're going to tell the shooter to adjust accordingly, and he's going to be adjusting off the target. So this is an example of why that optical quality is so important to be able to properly classify hits and misses. So speaking of lesser scopes, this is looking through the scope that I'm replacing with the Tract. And that's a hit, but the only way you can tell it's a hit is because I hit on the bottom part of the plate, so you can see the splash and you can see the plate moving. If I had hit on the top like I did in the other one, you just would have missed the whole thing altogether. Now, when you compare these side to side, it's so obvious how superior the image quality is through the Tract. I mean, look at the one on the left. It's darker. It's far fuzzier. There's no contrast. You can't make out any detail. Look at the Tract. You can make out, if you look closely enough, you can see the 3/4 inch galvanized pipe on the side of the target. This is 2,100 yards that you can see that. And so obviously the image quality is significantly better. And again, you can see why that plays such an important role in ELR. All right, so let's review what I like and don't like about the Tract Toric spotting scope. And we'll start with what I don't like because it's pretty easy because I pretty much like everything about it. The only don't like, and it's really more of a wish list item, was I would love to have a first focal plane reticle on this, but in a zoom. But no, that's difficult. It's not something that's really prevalent in this class. But the fact that it does have a reticle eyepiece, we'll start there on the likes. I do like that quite a bit, and it's a 30x as we mentioned before. It's got that great open reticle, the L shape. It's an inverted L shape, similar to the hensolt. What it has over the hensolt, and I like this a lot, is that it's got both 0.2 and 0.5 mil hash marks. That makes it suitable as a ranging reticle, as well as being able to just use it to call corrections on spot. So I like that aspect about it quite a bit. Let's get into the form, fit, and function. We mentioned this before. The controls are substantial and beefy. You're not going to knock into these things and change them. I really love the focus control. It's a full body focus control, and I like that quite a bit because some of the lesser scopes will have that focus knob there at the top, and it takes just a little bit of movement to get it pretty far out of focus. This is much more movement required, which means you have a much finer level of control, and you can really just get right in on that focus. So I like that quite a bit as well. The other aspects I like, it's extra, cost extra, but I like the neoprene sleeve. I can just put these covers on, put it in my backpack. I'm good to go. I'm not an expert on optical clarity, so I don't want to get too far into that. I will say, having used the Vortex Razor HD a fair amount, I think, I didn't compare them side by side, so I can't tell you for sure. I think the optical quality on this is better. I like you're getting more for your money in the controls, the other aspects of it. The reticle piece is better, and you're getting it for less money. So it's a great value in that respect. I'd love to be able to compare it side by side. I have not been able to do that. Hopefully, I will be able to do so in the not too distant future. So, overall, sturdy, well-built unit, great product. Love the packaging, the design, everything about it. And so I don't think you can go wrong, getting this and using it as an ELR scope. And I'm just going to finish by saying I hope you enjoyed this video. There'll be another one coming up that's going to have some of the same footage and a lot more about how to find that shooting spot that we were at, which was just beautiful. And it was a little bit of an adventure to get there. So we'll show you that whole story when that one comes along. And until then, we'll catch you next time on 2 Minutes to Target.